Arctic Birthday coming to you from Saskatchewan here today with another episode of You've Gotta Be Shitting Me, where you see things that people do and or say in the news and there is nothing left to say about it but you've gotta be shitting me. And this is the Climate Cult Megaspecial, dedicated to all of the activists that exist in this world telling us we're doing things wrong. In case you haven't got it figured out yet, there's gonna be some swearing in this episode. If that offends you, well, sorry that your butt got hurt. Try and catch me another time. Anyways, round one, the Charlie Angus band, the donkey went down to Ottawa. So Charlie Angus, federal NDP MP for Timmins James Bay, tables a private members bill C-372, which would make it illegal for oil and gas companies or Canadian citizens to promote or advertise Canadian oil and gas, a fine punishable by up to $1 million or 2 years in fucking jail. You've got to be shitting me. I remember hearing about this somewhere in the past. I think the city of Regina tried to do it here in Saskatchewan, where they tried to ban oil and gas companies from advertising on city property. And City Councilor Dan LeBlanc at the time referred to oil and gas the same as sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like he's living in a fucking movie called Footloose. And then they want to compare advertising with oil and gas companies like advertising with tobacco companies. It just puts people in the hospital. Well, Charlie, yeah, sure, tobacco can put people in the hospital, but once people get into the hospital, a hospital is built using oil and gas. Oil and gas is used to keep the lights on and the furnaces going at said hospital. Those neat things that transport us to the hospital during an emergency are powered by oil and gas. Any of the items that are used to treat us while we're in the hospital, the base ingredients of them are derived from oil and gas, and the food that you eat while you're in the hospital is actually grown and harvested and delivered to the hospital using oil and gas. So, no, I don't see how the two of them are like each other at fucking all. I'm not sure what I'm surprised by more, the stupidity of this bill or the fact that we actually pay politicians to do this shit. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but good job to the shadow ministers in both NDP caucuses of Alberta and Saskatchewan for issuing a joint statement saying that they do not support Charlie Angus whatsoever. I mean, you know you're blowing it in Ottawa when all the provinces start being like, hey, let's get the hell away from this guy. Next up, Stevie Guilbeault.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
So at a public transit conference in Montreal, Stephen Guilbeault, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change Canada, or the Green Jesus of Montreal, tells everybody that the federal government is no longer going to invest money in building new road infrastructure. You gotta be shitting me. And immediately when he gets confronted about it by the media, he's like, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Will not be funding roads.
That's not what I said.
Yes, it is.
Wait.
I can read it back to you.
Are these kooks aware of what they say at all, or are they like Ron Burgundy and they just read whatever gets put in front of them?
And I'm Ron Burgundy. Go fuck yourself, San Diego.
And then they're shocked when somebody says, well, this is what you said.
Do you even know what you just said? Oh, great Odin's Raven.
Not investing in road infrastructure, helping the environment is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You should go for a drive in Saskatoon on Circle Drive on the east side of it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. One of the major artery highways that runs through the country is the Yellowhead, and they bottleneck her right down into city traffic. Trucks, cars, everyone piled the fuck up at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're telling me that a bypass keeping the big traffic out of the city wouldn't make life more environmental for everybody, Stevie? But in all reality, I mean, it'd be great for the feds to pitch in and help with some of this stuff, but considering the fact that our provincial government couldn't be bothered to pause the fuel tax when gas was out of control high, using the excuse that, hey, we still need this to maintain our roads and infrastructure, and all of our roads and infrastructure are pretty much fucked. I guess I can't really pick on the feds too much for it, right, Sass Party? Next up, Lawrence the Lobster. Under the ocean, under the sea. So our federal ag minister, Lawrence McCauley, posts a picture of himself on Twitter on a business trip to Malaysia promoting Canadian agriculture, eating a $75 lobster lunch. You've got to be shitting me. Hey, listen, it's super cool that we got an ag minister that's going all over the world to promote Canadian agriculture and food, but do you think for 2 seconds that you'd stop and just do a self-awareness smell check? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you vote against a bill that would actually give Canadian farmers a break from the carbon tax, then jumping on a plane, flying halfway around the world to eat an imported lunch seems a tad bit hypocritical to me. Or am I out to lunch here? lobster lunch. Oh, and a little comms advice for you here, Lawrence. While people are lining up in Canada in record numbers at food banks because nobody can afford to eat, I would just avoid posting pictures of yourself eating a $75 lobster lunch. Just a tip for you. Next up, calling a turd a butt flower doesn't make it smell any better. The Liberal Party of Canada has decided to rebrand the Climate Action Incentive Program. It will now become the Canada Carbon Rebate. You've got to be shitting me. I don't know if anybody told you this, guys, but just because you change the name of it, it doesn't mean anybody's going to accept it. Like, think about it. If your doctor changed the name of rectal exam over to finger hug, it doesn't change the fact that you're getting something shoved up your backside. Know what I mean? And finally, we're going to go back to COP28 and talk about the emissions cap. Okay, now environmental activists fly from all over the world to wherever the COP conferences are going to be, and this year it was in Dubai. And yeah, I made a video on Joe Vipon and a bunch of the dumb shit that he was saying, but there was one thing that caught my eye there. That is the funniest thing I've ever seen, and it was the emissions cap ball cap. So Climate Action Network gets a whole bunch of these emissions ball caps brought over. There's 200 of them that they get made and brought over to Dubai on their planes. And then they start passing these emissions caps around so that everyone can talk seriously about putting a cap on emissions on the Canadian oil and gas industry. And they give these caps to everybody. I mean, look at these people. You got Catherine McKenna, you got Elizabeth May, you've got Rick Smith and George Heyman, and oh look, even the great Jesus himself, Stephen Guilbeault, getting handed one, but he's not allowed to put it on until he announces a cap on Canadian oil and gas emissions. Well, did you know that if you dig deep enough and look hard enough, that you can find a website that has a Google Sheet attached to it that you can fill out, and they will send you your own emissions cap right to Saskatchewan? You've got to be shitting me. You know what the funny thing is about these caps? Do you know what it is that holds the shape of a cap like this in the beak of the cap? Do you know what it is? It's plastic. Do you know what plastic's made out of? And do you know what Velcro on the back of these caps is made of? Do you know what this is made of? That's right, nylon, polyester. Do we know what those are made with? Stay with me, it's funner if we all say it together. Oil and gas. Do you know what the material in this whole thing is? Back here and up in here, some twill wool, and on the inside you got a few other things, but generally, polyester. You know what you need to make polyester? You guessed it. Even if it's 100% cotton, you realize the amount of diesel fuel and transportation it takes to grow, harvest, and transport and process cotton to make a hat. I'd ask you what the country of origin of this was, because predominantly, unless you go out of your way, you're going to be buying a hat from either Bangladesh or China, which is responsible for most of the global greenhouse gas emissions anyways. But there's no tag inside of this thing, so you have absolutely no idea where it was made or where it came from, probably for a reason. And if that's not enough, they send it to you all the way across this country on Canada Post, which is a bunch of diesel-burning vehicles, and they send it in a single-use plastic shipping sleeve that's got not just one, but two pieces of paper in it, one in French and one in English, so that you can understand what they are trying to prove by sending you this piece of shit. Am I the only one that can't help but laugh when we see a whole bunch of people making a product that relies completely on oil and gas to be produced and transported, then we're sending it across the ocean and giving it to people that never wear hats and are never going to wear them again, to take one picture with them and then probably throw it in the back of their closet and it'll never see daylight again? Like, isn't the point here to waste less? Why don't we send these people some peat moss fashioned in the shape of a hat that has emissions on it? It'll make more sense. You know, if you climate people kind would just do a little sniff check in your armpits to make sure you don't smell like hypocrisy before you tell us that we're all doing it wrong, people might listen a little closer to you. This is Quick Dick McDick signing off, reminding you no matter what you hear on the radio, read in the paper, or see on TV, you can always blow some steam off by laughing and saying, "You gotta be shitting me." Hey, Blue Ball. Catch you next time. QuickDickMcDick.ca. We're even out of hats right now, but we still got toques and gloves. Well, for all you still kicking around, holy moly, thanks for sticking along. Been a little while between uploads here lately, but I've been busy on the road, if you haven't heard, doing the small town comedy tour. Finishing up this weekend. Friday, Swift Current, sold out. Saturday, Maple Creek, Saskatchewan, last of the small town comedy tour. I think there's like 10 or 15 tickets available or after our brewery, so grab a ticket if you want to come have a good night in Maple Creek Saturday. And then hopefully get back here for calving season. Going to get back into some regular uploads for you people, but thanks for hanging along. Hope y'all are doing good, and take care out there, eh? That whole part about the finger hug there, it's a joke, right? But just so you know, if you're over the age of 40 out there, you should go get a finger hug. Make sure the old prostate's ticking as it should be, because early detection's how you beat that shit. So keep your bits working right, fellas. Catch you next time.